gold is all I have left. Sold my house, my gold no less. The wolves are circling my huddling hands, but this man's much. So let's go. People can hear us. Welcome here, Big Mike. I'm happy to have you here.
Thanks. It's nice to be here. It's always a pleasure to chat with you.
Yes, same, mate. I mean, we have been speaking a lot over the last few years. I don't even know how long time it has been, but since the wax time, it has been pretty frequent.
Since mainnet kind of rolled out, yeah, and even before that, I guess probably a couple times as well.
Yeah, in
I've
all
been
of
a
the
wax
EOS IO
supporter.
chants and everything. Today we are here to talk about your candidacy for the Office of Inspector Generals over at Wax.
Correct.
And let's just start with a little bit of your background. Who are you, and how did you come to this place?
So my name is Mike Cowper, and I have been involved in crypto since probably the worst time ever, which was 2017. At the top, at the peak at 20,000, I started buying crypto. And I actually made a little bit of money on some ETH, and I did pretty well on Ripple, and then I didn't sell it, and a couple of other cryptos. But I learned a lot and fought my way through the bear market, and I'm still here. Um, Hopefully, stick around for a little bit longer and learn a few more things. And I've been contributing a lot to the Wax ecosystem lately, which has been fun. I'm involved with two different projects, Nifty Wizards and Crypto Twerps, which is awesome. I'm really enjoying both of those projects. And originally, I'm a window washer, so I run a small business, and that's my summer gig. And then in the wintertime, I just take time off and play with crypto stuff and go snowboarding and do all the fun stuff. Take pictures. That's my other big hobby is photography,
Yeah,
and
you even
that
have
kind of
some
led me
NFTs on
to
Wax.
yeah. So that led me to making NFTs, and I was kind of one of the first, um, one of the original people that was making NFTs on Hobie Skins back in the day on the VRL setup. And I kind of have been doing that ever since. So yeah, and then recently I just put out my own a new line called Hurt and Nifties. And Roy at Waxstash was kind enough to provide me a page there. So I have my own page on waxstash.com, which is awesome. I'm really
Yeah,
stoked
just
on
head
it.
over there if anyone is interested to check out what he has done or is doing. Um, so you came here in the top and then broke down and stayed anyways. Like a lot of us that are still here and probably listening to this in the future will actually come from. They have been there or have just joined with the NFT space. So what like is the biggest things that you have learned from this space in the crypto market?
How to trade. That was the number. I mean, before I started using crypto, I had no idea about markets or anything, and I learned so much from leverage trading to arbitrage to you name it. I pretty much, looking at charts, doing TA, macro, just totally just dive down the rabbit hole. So yeah, I've learned quite a bit, which is very cool, and it's really changed my outlook on um, money in general. And I really didn't understand money before I got into Bitcoin, and now I really do, and I really um, value sound money because I realize that fiat is just paper, and it's only worth what we value it at, right?
Yeah, and this rabbit hole is the same that a lot of us has gotten into. I mean, before I went into crypto, I think it was into 2016. I went into Dash as the first one, uh, and
before that, I mean, I didn't really care. I didn't really put any time into it. I didn't research. I didn't understand. I didn't know what the Federal Reserve was and all these things. And now I do. And I've read multiple books and I've articles and documentaries and movies on the subject of like it's money, and then it's politics, and then it's a whole range of things that has come from this. Uh, it's a beautiful thing to participate in.
It is, and it's interesting how when you start learning a little bit, you really want to just keep pursuing that knowledge and deepening your understanding, because it's just endless how much you can learn and how much you can glean from the markets and the currency in general.
Yeah, for sure. And okay, you started there from 2017, and back at that time we did not have a wax mainnet. So what brought you to this ecosystem?
Well, so I was involved in EOS quite heavily, especially right from the beginning. I have a Genesis wallet, and I think I had maybe 20 coins or something. It was pretty expensive when I got in, but I learned a lot about EOSIO, and that kind of really changed my whole perspective on crypto in general and using crypto and actually using dApps and using the chain and stuff like that. Before that, it was kind of mostly just trading cryptos on exchanges and maybe moving some stuff around on BTC or ETH. And I didn't, it was slow, and that was normal. And I didn't understand that like there was stuff that was better out there. And then as soon as I started using EOS, I just literally can't go back anymore. Like I try and send an ETH transaction now or Bitcoin transaction, and it takes forever. And I'm just like, what am I doing? Like this is
Yeah, and
such a
I mean,
waste of time.
I mean, some days Ethereum is kind of fast. It's just take a minute or something to get the first confirmation. They and some wallets actually accept that, so everything is done. Um, but using the hashes and the MetaMask and everything, I mean, we have used Scatter, which is not a great experience, but compared to MetaMask, it's great. And we have a few other ones as well that, and just using usernames and things like that, it makes so much sense.
Human readable account names. Like, I can send wax to Big Mike Proxy and it's super easy, right? So I mean, yeah, that makes a huge difference, not having a huge hash of string of ETH or Bitcoin. It's so huge for adoption, and that's one of the cool things that the new domains things are doing now too is that you can have a domain name for your Bitcoin or ETH wallet as well nowadays, right? So
Yeah, I mean, adoption is coming. They are building out all of these tools, but still we're just in the proof of concept space, even on Wax. Even though,
especially on
yeah,
wax, I think, yeah, we're very, very nascent here, and
yeah.
there's a lot of work. It's really exciting though, because I mean things change so fast, right? I mean the tech just continually gets better and better, and everyone is iterating on it and trying to make it more more streamlined, right? So I mean
Yeah.
that's awesome.
But and you said that you are in two projects, so you're in Nifty Wizards and you are in Crypto Twerps.
Hmm.
Nifty Wizards is like a role-playing game over a Telegram where you commute, where you do quests and you participate in a community, and you have a chance to earn some NFTs, and you also earn dust tokens from pretty much all the Wizard channels. But you also do something else, which is what you have on your head and where this cup come from. So what is that?
That would be blockshop.io. So my partner Matt and I run blockshop.io, and we provide gear for the crypto ecosystem. We have a bunch of Wax, EOS, Bitcoin, Ethereum, all sorts of different cryptos, and looking to expand that more into the NFT scene. I have a couple of artists, as well as we've been selling some twerps canvases, which are really cool. And I actually was just working on some twerp stuff tonight, so there's a little bit more of a reveal coming there as well. And
Nice.
also playing with the new payment function, which I think that Wax users might enjoy quite a bit. So hopefully that I'll have some more news on that fairly soon.
Yeah, and yeah, that's something you want to keep up with if you're interested in the Wax. And I will for sure participate when that is available in full scale. I think it's a great solution, which really is that you can buy things on his shop with Wax, which make a huge
Wasn't
difference.
quite going to say that because it's not
Yeah,
quite
it's
there
not
yet,
exactly. It's not here yet.
Close.
Yeah, there's issues to find out in the back end. When he gets a payment, he has to get converted to fiat to be able to pay the supplier and the chain to sell it, to print it and to mail it and everything. You have to pay it with fiat. They do not accept Wax, so there is some conversions that has to happen, and that has to be figured out.
Yeah, well, basically what ends up happening is that it comes out of my PayPal account, right? I have to send the Wax to exchange and then exchange that for fiat to then put back in the buffer fund so that I can keep sending out products.
So you take the risk by doing that service for a community, right?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So that is important
I
to
mean,
understand.
we're a crypto like apparel shop, right? For us to not offer crypto, for me, is just kind of backwards, right? So
Yeah.
I was just like, that was one of the things where I was like, yeah, we need to accept this. So, and I've been working with Joseph from EOS Barcelona, and he's got this amazing open source Wax plugin, which is really cool. So we're playing with that, and that should be live pretty quick, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and as every new tech part, we have to figure out how it works and everything. But okay, now we have a little bit about your backstory, what you are doing in the Wax ecosystem, which is a lot of things. You're active in pretty much all the Wax Telegram channels, and
people say I'm everywhere.
It's not far from the truth, at least in the Wax ecosystem. So, what is Wax for you?
Wax is EOSIO network that has guilds who are distributed, and they run the ecosystem with the help. It's kind of a centralized system, so Wax team still owns quite a majority of the stake, and they make the decisions. But they're guided by the OIG, which is what we're here to talk about today.
Yeah, that is good. And let's just drop into it. What is blockchain governance for you?
Blockchain governance for me is making ways to make the ecosystem better and having it operate and function in a efficient manner. I think one thing as far as governance is concerned, in general, I find is that it's mainly focused on running the chain and performance metrics for running the chain or business development. And that's something where I would like to focus on user experience and having more people come to Wax, so marketing as well. And what I found, and what we've actually talked about in the past, was that guilds aren't incentivized for doing those user experience functions because the OIG is kind of set up mainly to take care of the technical aspects of running the chain. So I would like to see that change and put forward a proposition to have guilds be incentivized to provide more user experience as well.
Yeah, and that is very true, as you say. I mean, we do get some points as a guild for doing the community things, but it's a minority point compared to building products or pulling businesses into Wax. I mean, the technical side, that should be a baseline. Everyone should meet this baseline to even be able to get any points of the OIG, because that is the core functioning. And then there's this additional service. Like yesterday when Ben was here and talked, he also said that, well, customer support isn't evaluated for running the services or APIs or I mean, Atomic Hub, Atomic Assets, blocks, all of these things. Customer support is a big part of that, and that is not really measured.
No, I see Jonah and Fabian answering questions all day long, and I'm sure that they don't get a lot of points for that. So that definitely would be something that I would put on my list for sure. Anything user experience related, I think really needs to be focused on, because for me, we've already built the ecosystem and the technical stuff is there. We have that baseline. And now we really need to expand that user experience and expand that user base. So that's something that I think that we could focus on and will make us a stronger community.
Yeah, and well, from my perspective, since I do a lot of work in that area, I will agree, but I am also biased because I think it's very important. And from my perspective, it is important. So, so I'm happily biased.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't be doing this, right? And unless you did think it was important. So,
Yeah.
and you've been one of the champions of both teaching people how to use Wax and communicating different projects and talking to leaders and all that kind of stuff about Wax. So we definitely appreciate those efforts.
Yeah, thank you. And I really think that it needs to be shown more in these OIG scores. But I say that because I put in a lot of time. Someone else will say that it's more important to do products, and that is where I think we have some kind of issue with the current metric system, where they say it doesn't work like that, but as soon as the metric is the goal is wrong. Well, the metric is wrong. You can't focus on just the metric. You need to use the metric to evaluate things that is not focused on to gain score.
Well, and in some cases, we might have to change the metric too, right? So that you can actually evaluate other things based on that metric, because maybe it's too stringent, and maybe we need to modify it a little bit so that we can go after different goals. I think we've accomplished the goals that the OIG, or maybe not accomplished, but significantly accomplished a lot of the goals that the OIG set out to accomplish. And I think that we could modify and we could strive to move forward from those and expand our ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And if we take what they did, the first one, like it's almost a year ago, the first one, and take it to the last one, it has changed a lot. It has evolved. It is better. It is better in a lot of sense, and they are doing a lot of good work with that. But I still don't think it reflects like encouraging people to do different things. It doesn't give enough power there. So I like how you think here as well, which is great. And as we talk about, can we evaluate teams in a different way? Like Cafe Blocks building blocks, and Pink Eyes building the Atomic Asset, Atomic Hub, Crypto Alliance building simple assets, simple market, and then ourselves doing we put a lot of it in the back end, in the hardware, and then we do this community outlet. How can we evaluate different kind of projects against each other?
I think there needs to be different categories for different things, and then you just have points based on those categories. So right now it seems like everyone kind of gets lumped into the same categories. So if we spread out those requirements, then I think that would be a lot easier to look at. And maybe certain guilds, maybe there's a special point section or something where you can fit in projects that don't necessarily fit into the normal guidelines, and you can incentivize those as well, because what I see is a lot of people trying to do a lot of cool stuff, but at the same time trying to fit it in that same box so that they can incentivize those points. Whereas if they didn't have to do that, then maybe they would think outside the box, and they would go and they would do something really cool that might not necessarily be incentivized under the traditional OIG criteria, but could be if we had some kind of special points section or something like that.
Yeah, and currently all teams are evaluated in business, in product, in community and everything. And perhaps it should be that each category is pretty much equal, but the team get evaluated in where they are strongest. That is one way to do it, because then a team that is very strong in product development don't have to also do the business development to make sure they get enough points to stay in the top 21. But instead they can focus on what they are good at. That is one way to change the metrics and keep the same categories pretty much.
And to me, that makes a lot of sense, because why focus teams, why force teams to do stuff that they're not really good at, or that's not their best function, when they could be doing all this other cool stuff over here, but they're not putting as much time into that because they feel like they need to check some boxes, right? I definitely agree with that for sure.
Yeah, I actually think that is an easy concept to adapt on to the current platform, and I think it's important. And Nichols in the chat, he says that is interesting. I think he probably agrees with that, because it's very hard with this, like a guild on Wax. We get paid decently, but not enough to do all of these different things. The pay pretty much covers the hardware and perhaps salary for one person. If you are in the top 21, and if you drop down to a standby, it doesn't cover the salary for any person, and that is important to understand.
Mm-hmm. And that's really difficult to be in that position where most teams that have at least two people, right? So
Yeah,
you're talking about paying someone half a salary basically, and that means that you guys have to go outside the system and look for other work, basically, because you guys need to make money, right? So that's another thing that potentially could be looked at in the future. I don't know what budget looks like for that, but that would be cool if we could incentivize teams more as well.
yeah, and one way is to do that is the Wax Labs, and that has been kind of quiet. It's being rebuilt. It's gonna be better. The Wax Labs will give grants to people based on what they suggest that they are gonna build, and that is one way to fund things outside of the guild. And I think that is beautiful. Like, they support this channel, so I could rebuild this entire room and everything to make a studio. And they have done it for a few projects, and they are doing more in the last month. So I think they're actually gonna step that up, and that is great.
Yeah, Nifty Wizards, actually, we just passed our first milestone as well.
Nice.
So we just got our first payment, and Curdy is actively working on getting those milestones done, because he just wants to get them out of the way. And there's a bunch of really cool functions that come along with those as well. So it's kind of a double bonus for everyone.
Yeah, for sure. And Nickel says that the standby is soon gonna be increased, how much they paid, and that is true, but not really. It's true until we have a full slot of standby BPs. When that is full, the pay will be a little bit higher than now, but it's not. It's pretty much the same. It's the same amount of tokens that go out. But okay, so how like we have already talked about it. You want to impact the OEGs to focus more on community engagement and user experience. Do you have any plans on how to iterate that, how to make that happen?
Well, I mean, one of the number one things that I really like that you guys do is the bots, right? For pricing, for both listing and for sales for NFTs. And one thing you talked about was that took you guys a lot of time and didn't give a lot of points for the OIG, right? So that's something where I'd like to change, the criteria a little bit, so that you guys could benefit more from that work, and help users even more, because I mean, we rely on those tools, right? As an NFT trader, when Waxplorer is down, or the sales bots are down, then we're basically missing a piece of our infrastructure that we use every day, and that makes life a lot more difficult for us. So those things are very important. And also, I'd like to give more credit to people doing media and stuff like yourself and like NFT Hype. Um, Nichols has a show, right?
Yeah, his team
Which
has,
is
yeah,
awesome.
the Earwax
And
podcast.
yeah, exactly. And all the others are there's this week on Wax. There's a bunch of guilds out there that are doing a bunch of media related work that I would like to see incentivize more, and encourage more guilds to reach out in that same manner as well.
Yeah, and I feel the same. I mean, we are all covering the same content, but we're doing it in different ways. And some ways will attract different people than others, and we can reach more in the end. So it's
Yeah,
good.
and you guys have more, like each individual community has more reach in your community, right? So it's good to, and plus, I mean, we always need different opinions.
Yeah.
We can't just have one central thought, because I mean, we're never going to move forward like that, right? So
Yeah, for sure. I really agree there as well. And well, the OIG, if we take, how would you like to have an impact to what the guilds are doing? You're talking about the incentivizing the community growth and everything. And how do you think you can contribute that to the ratings and the scorings and things like that?
I think it's just a matter of applying um, those metrics to things that are going to incentivize the guilds to do things that help the community. Um, I think that there's, like I said before, there's a lot of sort of biz dev technical stuff that gets a lot of
Yeah.
play, and the community aspect definitely is something on Wax, which I think is very organic, and we have a pretty cool community in and of itself, especially around NFTs and stuff. But we can always do more to incentivize that. And I think just basically giving guilds the opportunity by allowing them to uh, earn the points that they need to be in the top spot by doing those things will help a lot.
Yeah, and I think it's good. I mean, I kind of like the small things that I do because I build smaller things, and I focus a lot of this content creation and trying to make a lot of effort here. Like the NFT minting and dropping that I created, nfts.waxsweden.org. You can we help now. Right now, we have helped 2 people outside of my own project to mint and airdrop NFTs, and we plan to do more of that work. And if we compare that to a product, that product will be compared to blocks and to Atomicam, and then this product is nothing. But it's pretty much a service for the community to make their experience better.
And it's a huge service for the community, because I mean, like, even say a project like CryptoTorps, like, we don't have any any dev support really. Like, we're getting into that to build our sites now, but our main dev, Avril, actually just had an accident, and he's in the hospital at the moment. So to be able to reach out to you and have you help Matt with that kind of stuff is huge for us. It really is, and that made a huge difference in our project. So, and that's one of those things. Like, CryptoTorps is actually bringing quite a few people from outside the ecosystem into Wax, and there's a lot of ETH and engine supporters who also, support our artists because they publish on ETH and Wax, and they're well known, and they want to help us thrive. So, and that's really cool, because these people wouldn't necessarily have come for GPK or Blockchain Heroes or some of the other larger projects that were initial draws for a lot of people. So it kind of brings in, and I find that with each different community that's happening as well, is sort of, Bananos bringing in some people, and
Actually, a lot of
um,
people.
yeah, quite a few people. Even Nifty Wizards is bringing in people. Like
Yeah.
Ken Bosak's been very helpful with that. He's done a couple of videos for us now, and there's been quite a few people. Like we're almost at 700 in the lobby now, which is insane. Like when I first started Nifty Wizards, I think there was like 10 people in the lobby, and that was in August, so we've come a long way, and it's pretty cool to see the ecosystem expand and grow.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was in there the first days. Like, I got some key and I tried to use it, and I was like, no, this is not for me. And then I've been back, and some days I'm there a few hours, some days I'm there a few seconds, and just reading what's happening.
Well, initially it was a lot of imagination and not a lot of substance,
Yeah,
and Curdy has taken that imagination and transformed it into a hell of a lot of substance, which is really cool. I mean, the day I saw him mint an object in Telegram to my wallet, that just changed everything. Like that was revolutionary for me to be able to mint an object in Telegram and
yeah.
then literally send it to somebody's wallet. It was just mind blowing because
And for me, it's a great onboarding for new users, because like chatting, that's not something new to them. Opening perhaps it's Telegram, they haven't used it, but it's opening a chat room and they are communicating. They just need to go and get an account and then connect that. That is the first step, and getting a cloud wallet is kind of easy. Using it is kind of easy. Using Telegram is very easy. So if you combine them, you make the first interaction simple. Which is great.
and as soon as they get into that battle room, it's just they're hooked,
Yeah,
instantly hooked, because it's just like now you're fighting people, and like everyone's having fun and like jousting, making fun of each other, and like yeah, it's quite the scene. So it's pretty fun when you really get into it, and Curdy's done a lot of work on those bots to get us to where we're at today.
yeah, for sure. I think it's great. And so we have talked about some of these ecosystem, what the OIG are doing, and now we're gonna go into the hypothetical questions, which is not related to OIG, but it gets us to know you and how you think about the decentralization, blockchain, and things like that. And we get the same questions to all of the candidates, so people get an idea of how they operate compared to each other and things like that. So the first one is a scammer on Wax get hold of some private key or account that has a lot of Wax or NFTs. We know the account. What should we do about it as a community?
Well, the guilds have always been very hesitant to blacklist or do any kind of thing like that. It's quite a threat to decentralization to be able to just blacklist an account like that. It happened in EOS in the early days with ECAF, and that didn't actually work. Ended up having some blacklists that weren't obeyed or weren't used on different block producers servers, and then funds got through anyways. And so in my view, doing something at the blockchain level about that isn't really the best solution. I find that the best solution there is to try and stop the funds at the exchange, and even that, unfortunately, usually isn't the best scenario. Unfortunately, blockchain, once you lose those keys, man, it's tough to get your funds back. And I've had a couple of friends that have been scammed, and as much as we tried to do stuff for them, it seems like it wasn't really going to be easy, and they didn't get the money back.
Yeah,
So it's tough. It's a tough thing to I mean, you want to help people out, but at the same time, you can't just freeze everyone's account, because where do you draw that line, right?
yeah,
it's tough, and who makes that decision, right? It's not like everyone's gonna just vote on it, and then like that would take forever and it wouldn't be timely,
Yeah,
so
and I agree that a third party can do a lot of these things. For example, I put out the video probably a month ago now, where I explained how you can do account recovery using the tools we actually have today. You set a multi-sig on the owner key level, and you distribute that key to different keys to different people or accounts. And then they can't do anything with your account alone. They can't do anything in a pair of two. But depending on how you set it up, perhaps they need 5 or they need 7 or they need 9 different entities. And they can reset account keys for you. And this actually enables, like, big businesses should have this in function, because
I agree.
it will save their account. It cannot be stolen anymore, because you have these different entities that can rescue it. And that can be different services. They can offer this account recovery as a service for EOS chains. It could be people that you trust, friends. It could be some kind of public people that you actually, okay, they won't take what I have and just run because we know who they are, we know where they live. These kind of people can actually help and recover accounts without doing anything with the entire blockchain. And if you have your
cool.
wax staked, you have 3 days to do that.
Right. And I mean, if you have good security and you have an active owner key and your owner key is offline, then as long as your wax is staked, you should be able to recover that, right? Yeah. I guess the main thing now is NFTs, of course, aren't stakeable, right? So those can pretty much just get dumped on the market and then see what happens, and they'll sell them for wax, right? So something that would be really cool, and I would like to see as an OIG, and I would definitely incentivize, would be someone who did like an NFT staking or storage product. So I could then stake my NFTs for 72 hours or whatever, right? Yeah. And then if a hacker did get access, then they would have to unstake, and then I would still have a chance to save them with my owner key, right?
You can have delay on transactions, so you could actually set a lot of these things up. I mean, I try to send my NFTs to another account that is not my cloud wallet. With that said, I have way too many NFTs in my cloud wallet, and I also have too much wax.
Just don't like. Yeah, don't look at my cloud wallet.
Well, one should fix. Like, a cloud wallet is a hot wallet. A hot wallet is something that imagine you're walking around with cash in your hand in the street, and when it gets dark, it's more likely if you wave around a lot of cash, you will get lost. That is what the hot wallet is. That is the cloud wallet. You could walk around for a long time and nothing happens, but it's a higher risk there than if you have it at home in your bank vault. And that is a cold storage where you, for example, have a ledger, a hardware wallet, where you just throw in your NFTs, and it's one more step to actually transfer them. Convenience is not great for security. Convenience is great for user experience, and you need to combine that when you get a lot of value.
100%. And it's easy just to stock stuff up on your hot wallet and then never manage it, right? So that's something that I definitely need to do myself, is do a little bit more management there too. So
and it's all about being lazy. It doesn't take a lot of time to move it. There are tools where you can transfer bundles of NFTs, and it's
well, the really nice thing about Atomic, and I'll give Fabian and Jonah huge props on this, is I can send 200, 300, 400 NFTs with Atomic, right, in a transfer, and it goes through. Whereas like with simple assets, as soon as I get over 40, then I start to run into issues. So Atomic's definitely really cool for that, and I definitely appreciate that function when I'm moving stuff around in there, for sure.
Yeah, it's a great for user experience, for sure. Especially since nowadays people like you and me, we have a lot of NFTs. If we can just send 10 or 20 or 40, it's a bit annoying. However, I have scripts for it, so I just hit enter and it's done.
Yeah, I need to get into that stuff more. Oh, it saved me a lot of time for sure.
Yeah, but my script works for other accounts, not for my cloud wallet. So the other hypothetical moment is a person is mass producing NFTs on Wax, and mass producing is like hundreds of thousands or millions of NFTs, which it uses a lot of RAM, increases the price of RAM, it creates a lot of transactions on Wax. What should we as a community do about that?
Well, I think pay to play. So, I mean, if you want to make a million NFTs, then the barrier should be that you're going to have to pay for those, right? So, and if that's one of the, I guess one of the downsides with Atomic is that you can make a million of them and it doesn't cost you a lot, right? So that is a like kind of a bit of a spam function. Um, that's a tough call. I mean, I know it messes up stuff for Wax Explorer as well, and
He actually
it
said that
definitely,
it doesn't, as long as he just finds the account. He can just ignore all transactions from that account,
yeah,
and it's gone.
yeah. Well, that's what he had. I remember
So
that
it creates
he had one
an
guy
issue
spamming.
a few minutes until he fixes it, and then it's gone.
Exactly, and then he fixed it, and it was gone, right?
Yeah.
So, but I mean, it's decentralized, right? So who are we to stop someone from doing that? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? As much as we'd like to sort of maintain that and keep people from spamming, I think we need to find different ways to do it rather than just say like, hey, you're blacklisted, or because for me, that's not what blockchain is. Blockchain is supposed to be about taking your own keys and being able to do things in a decentralized manner and not having authority over you, basically, right? And obviously, you know, Atomic Hub or other markets are going to choose what they want to present on their site and what they're going to sell. But I feel like if a user can do it and they have the funds to be able to do it, then the only thing that should stop them is a technical limitation that we put in place so that they can't over or overwhelm the system.
Yeah,
I
and
think that's the way to go about it, rather than, you know, saying like, oh, this is a bad actor, because eventually we're going to have so many bad actors that it's going to get crazy, and then you can't control everyone, right? So you
yeah.
need to do that at a programmatic level.
Yeah, and wallets and marketplaces will have to filter things away in the future. It's just a matter of when, not if. And like we know that you don't like when things get blacklisted. You are very vocal about that in Telegram channels. For example, Atomic Hub has blacklisted some things, and that is a problem currently because there is not really a great other place where everything is listed. We have Explorer, but the user experience compared to Atomic Hub is very easy to go and use. With Explorer, you need to have an interest, you need to want to search for things to be able to navigate it. It's a great tool to navigate data, but it's not a great tool to just go and explore what's there, because you need to set some filters to have it correctly. So until we have like this open public, like simple market is for simple assets. Everything exists from the start. We need something like that that is not blacklisted for those that want to see everything.
Well, and collectibles is good like that too. I mean, you can select the other category and you can always see any simple asset, right? So that's cool, especially for um, beginning creators who aren't verified or don't have the credentials, right? They can
Yeah.
kind of, they can still be seen and get that start. But also, like I do, you know, I did actually call for something to be blacklisted the other day, and it was the emoji art that was stolen from young Jake. And for me, that's a completely different issue. So if you're going to take somebody else's work
Yeah.
and publish it and profit off of it, then for me, that's a fully blacklistable offense, 100%, because it's totally stealing from somebody else, and I don't see how that's justifiable at all.
No, me neither. But for that idea, do you think it should be a service blacklist or a blockchain level blacklist?
I think it's still a market blacklist because once again, like as soon as we start blacklisting stuff on chain, then it's really a case where somebody has to make that decision, and who makes that decision, right? And how is that fair? Versus if it's on a market, well, that market chooses not to present that work, and for me, that's fair because it's their market. They made it. They don't want to take that liability, so why should they, right? I get it 100%. But then again, there's cases like, for example, my buddy Ryan, who's doing the Unmasked series, has licensed the work from the artist, and Jonah didn't know that. So he blacklisted the collection, and it's currently blacklisted, and it needs to be sorted out. I'm hoping that it will be sorted out. But Ryan got frustrated and just left the building. So I don't know how that will be dealt with. Fortunately, it's still available on Waxstash. But so there's all sorts of little imperfections and iterations of these things, right? And none of it's clear. It's a huge gray area.
And
So
I
think
mean, working with these kind of
open.
filters requires a lot of time and effort from whoever does
Yeah,
it.
for sure.
And
For
for sure, as we grow, each market needs someone working full time with just this kind of issues.
I agree, 100%. Yeah, there definitely should be someone. And I mean, Jonah and Fabian don't really have time for that. They're building stuff, they're deving stuff, they're answering questions. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, that would be another thing where it would be like, hey, like these guys have a market. Like, they should apply for Wax Labs, and they should have someone looking out for the artists of the world and making sure that, because that also like gives Wax a bad name if we let that kind of stuff happen, right? So I think our community definitely needs to look out for that more.
Yeah, from
And
my
we
perspective, we could
have
even have a
been.
guild working on that as what their main thing. There could, or just applying for Wax Labs and getting grants from the labs to just evaluate everything in all marketplaces and provide the right reports for the market to look at and use.
Yep. I mean, as Wizards Guild, I would be happy to take that on. I haven't talked to my partners about it, but I think that they might be supportive of that. So that would definitely be something.
It's something the community needs, and it's something that requires a lot of work, and that should be evaluated. And I don't know if that should be a guild thing at the current level, because guilds are kind of limited on what they can do. But the same way, I think it's a service for the community, the service for the ecosystem. So I think it goes into the category for what the guild should be able to do, because the foundation, as we said before, is the technical part. When that is done, you should add value to the ecosystem, and that is value.
Mm-hmm. That definitely adds value, for sure. Instead of having the fake collections which take value away. So
yeah, and as we both know, it's very hard to evaluate things. You need to do a lot of communication. You need to understand a lot of things and keep track to what is happening, and as we move forward, that will be harder and harder to do.
Yeah, for sure. And if there isn't someone that's focusing on that aspect, then it's going to get overlooked a lot. So I feel like you're entirely right. Like there definitely needs to be someone or some team that takes that on and moves forward with that project. I agree 100%.
Yeah, let's hope someone in the Wax team also hears this and can also help to push that, because I think it's important moving forward. Not to ban them from using the blockchain, but to help filter them from the marketplaces by doing some kind of transparent reporting on things they find. So I think it's
for
good.
sure. I'd definitely like to see Wax contribute to that as well.
If we just wrap this up and try to finish the conversation today, if we take wax, what do you think is the coolest thing about wax in general?
For me, the coolest thing about wax is how fast it moves. So, or the NFTs or anything like that. So, I mean, I can transfer wax from one account to another, and it's there in seconds, right? And the other real cool thing is just the ecosystem and the NFT ecosystem and the infra that we've developed. I mean, there isn't anything like it. There aren't markets or, I mean, ETH has, OpenSea, and they have Rary, and so they do have different stuff, but they're more artist focused, and um, there there is a trading scene, but it's not like Wax, because Wax is that high velocity trading scene, right? Which is obviously something that I'm more focused on. So I just think that just our NFT ecosystem is awesome, and it's growing, and I wouldn't suggest anyone drop NFTs on any other chain right now, for sure.
With my awareness, I wouldn't suggest that either. I can see that another EOS IO chain can work for some kind of NFTs. But if you want to reach the same community and same type of people, attract them, use one place to use the same tools.
Well, I mean, all this stuff will work on Proton, or it'll work on EOS, or it'll work on all these other chains too, right? But that infra's not there yet.
Yeah.
They're 6 months behind us
And
already,
just the
right?
thing, like Atomic Hub is existing on EOS. You have Atomic Assets, you can do the same things there, but you don't have the cloud wallet. And it is really annoying to get pop up to do things. It's not a great user experience. So it's not
Nice.
the same.
Yeah, the cloud wallet's awesome. I definitely have noticed lately that pop-ups have been a little bit annoying, and I have to refresh quite often. It seems like that user experience has changed a little bit in the past couple months. I remember it being cloud wallet being smoother. So hopefully with the new iteration with the 2.0, they'll have sorted some of those issues out as well.
Yeah.
And I think another thing is, like, for hopefully in the future, for drops, we'll have multiple payment functions. I mean, I just don't see why that's not a big thing already, because I feel like when you have different payment functions, then it makes it easier to pay, because there's no bottleneck, right? It's like some people can pay with their credit card, some people can pay with Wax. And Alien Worlds had ETH, like, which was really cool. But it's funny because it seemed like everyone just bought the Wax packs, and then as soon as they ran out, then all of a sudden it's like, where do I get some ether? Like, how do I buy? Like, oh no, this stuff's so slow. What do I,
Yeah.
like, it was like this whole like Wax crew finding ETH and like getting packs on ETH, right? So,
But there was a few people that used Ethereum that didn't use Wax. So we got a few new users, but so far the communication has reached the Wax people. So it's the Wax people that has participated. But they were they had this press release on Yahoo Finance and on a few other things. So perhaps we will reach some ETH people.
Newswire go out today, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And a couple of different sales. I was actually quite surprised. I thought that the next rare pack sale would be sooner, but it's like a week away. So I think that people keep opening those standard packs, man. They just keep ripping them. So
Yeah.
I like that. That's good for
Yeah,
price on those.
one person has opened around 400 of these base packs. It's crazy.
Is that person you?
No, I'm closing into. I think I'm around 80 packs. So I'm pretty deep.
That's a good number though too.
Yeah,
that's not a typical Anders number. No, you're into the release big time.
I really, I like. For me, I think that the release of Alien Worlds will be kind of basic. The first games and everything. It's to build the foundation, the economic layer, build out this governance, the planets and everything. But if we get some traction, where we can go, that's endless. It's an ecosystem that can actually grow into whatever changes in the Wax ecosystem.
Well, yeah, and I mean all these cards, right? Like, I mean, I went out myself and bought duplicates for all my cards so that I can shine them, right? So that's going to really increase the rarity on all these cards, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, especially since they don't just get cooler effect or anything. They actually change how they work in the game. And that is a key aspect to actually giving some incentive to upgrade them, because now if you have 4, you can and some trillion, which is a token, you can upgrade them and you get something that they say may be an improvement. They haven't said that it will be an improvement. They say it may be, which for me is another word for it's probably a chance to get it or something like that.
Right.
We don't know the details.
Interesting.
Yeah, so we will see. Oh, we have actually a question. What would you have in mind other than art or collecting? That is like for a question. Would you be open to welcoming more utility usage of wax?
Oh, of course. Like games are huge for me. That's what I'm really excited about Nifty Wizards and Alien Worlds, because both of those have utility for the NFTs, right? And I was actually also quite excited for Chibis because they were supposed to bring utility as well. So, you know, anything that brings utility is awesome because that's just additional value. Art and collection is great, but also you need the numbers to support that, right? And we definitely need a larger community to support these massive releases that keep coming at us. So I think that's another thing that the games are really cool for, is that, you know, people are going to want to keep opening Alien Worlds packs because they're going to want the items, right, so that they can play the game. And we don't really have any other releases that are like that now. It's kind of like people are just going after cards to complete their collections. It's not, they're not like, oh, I need this so that I can mine some Trillium and beat Anders at his own game, you know. It's just like, it's one of those things where it really drives value. So I definitely think utility is huge, and I'd love to see more of it for sure.
Yeah, I agree, and things like adding the payment option of wax for a shop, and also I'm trying to write an article while I'm doing all other things for what I see an NFT can be used for, and right now I have outlined 17 different use cases for it, and on wax we are not nearly close to 17 different ways of actually using the NFTs. We pretty much have collecting and games.
Well, I mean, and one thing that like people talk about a lot, but I've never seen so far is tickets.
Yeah.
Right. Like how easy would it be to issue NFT tickets?
It's super easy,
and we could just cut Ticketmaster right out, right? Like that'd be huge. Or like marriage certificates, or liens for houses, or loans, or any kind of document, or, you know, there's so many uses for NFT that fall outside the traditional art collector box that we haven't ticked or even come close to ticking yet.
Yeah, and all the tools are ready. All you need is an interface that people are used to using. You just need a way to sign up for the cloud wallet, which is an email or social media. They just need to sign up, and then they pay the ticket with wherever you want them to buy with, if that's Bitcoin, fiat, or wax, or whatever. And then they have it in their wallet. They do not need wax. They do not need to interact with anything on wax. They just need to interact with your user interface and the cloud wallet, which will be better. And they just need to sign up, and then they have
a verified ticket with a verified number on chain that can be verified, and they just scan their barcode, and then Bob's your uncle, you're in your seat, right?
Yeah, and like if you're doing events, just use atomic assets, template, and schemas, and you're so easy to filter out to whoever should be there and use the right tickets. And I mean that system is really easy to build, so people should build it. But it's the hard part is to adopt that to businesses, and that requires the work. The tech is here.
For sure. It's just we have to figure out ways to use it.
Yeah.
And the easiest ways to use it.
Yeah, and like I can just read like the list. We have art, we have game items, we have tickets, we have event passes. Like you go to an event, you have a week long event. That's not really a ticket. It's some kind of pass. So it's something different. We have the tokenized physical goods. which is what World did before. I will tokenize this one, and I can trade it, and you can trade that one without it leaving my home, and then you can redeem it later. So that is something
Cool.
that we're not using as well. We
Yeah,
have
I think we
shared
might do
ownership
that
as
with
well.
Blockshop, do some t-shirts or something.
Yeah,
some point.
exactly. It's just sell an NFT and they can redeem it later. And you have some kind of disclaimer. You have to redeem it within 1 year or something. You don't want to have it open for 20 years later. We don't know what happens then. We have shared ownership of something. Issue an NFT 1/10 of something, and it shows what you own, what kind of the data is in, what it actually is legit for. We have subscription services, which is kind of like my slices, but it's not really what I meant here. Where you can actually subscribe. Let's say you get an NFT for Netflix for a year, you have access to it when you have this NFT. If you don't want it, you can sell it. This creates a good use case for people. We have memberships.
Yeah, quite enjoyed my promo pack.
Yeah, exactly. I dropped something, and that was not even part of it, which is very important to understand. I did not promise that. I promised some kind of drop in next month, but I dropped it anyway. We have these memberships, which also slices could be. Well, we could have a non-transferable membership that you get in your account, and as long as you have that, you have access to some things. We have domain names can be NFTs, and that is happening on Theo, for example. All the domain there are NFTs, and they will likely also be integrated to OpenSea. At least they are talking about that.
Cool.
We have certifications, which you actually talked about before. Marriage certification, you dropped that. It could be from schools. Everything we can verify. The school can just be a collection, and then the schemas, and they have this, and you can just sign a transaction. Oh, it's mine. Here you can see. Right to stuff like trade agreements. You get an NFT, you have right to trade these things. Right to X amount barrels of oil for the next whatever, and you can trade that. It's very easy to verify that it's correct.
We could record contracts and stuff on these things as well. Exactly.
Yeah, or resources. If you have this NFT, you are granted to have 20 transactions on the chain. Something like that can also happen. We can have coupons, which is redeemable, so you lose them when you use them. And we have redeemables like Kickstarter could launch very easily, where you pay something and you get different layers, and if you have that gives you the right to something in the future. You can trade that instantly, which gives you as an investor liquidity. This is another use case. We have receipts. So if you buy something on a shop, why should you get an email? Why should you get, like, if you go to the store, why should you get the paper one? Get an NFT. It shows exactly what it is. It shows the date. It shows everything. It's way better than actually having like an email or whatever. And it's stored for real. And we have real estate. That is also something obvious, where you can actually own a real estate, and you can have an unlimited amount of NFTs.
Yeah, you could tokenize that, right? You split it up very easily, or anything like that.
And that could perhaps be a fungible token, but then again, you could have NFTs that have specific attributes to that project as well. So it makes sense to have a non-fungible token.
You can sell the kitchen and the living room and
or,
the bedroom.
I mean, it could also be that you have this big retail house, and one NFT is one of the shops in the retail house, and you own rights to that shop, but not the one next to it, and that. Well, it's a lot of things to do. And patents is another one that I don't really like, but it's a great use case for it. So there is tons of things to do, and I actually plan to build a few of these for Wax. But then again, my plan is this long, and I don't know if that means that I can do it in a week or if I can do it in 3 years.
Got to focus on the trees rather than you got the forest plan, right?
Yeah.
You got to sort of come in a bit closer.
Yeah, and the first step for me was like the enabling people to mint and airdrop NFTs with tools, and I only do that while I'm working with people. I will not offer that as something that you log in and click, because I want to be able to choose who I provide help for and not. So it's a service rather than a tool that I don't need to care about.
Yeah, and that's smart, I think, because that could enable bad actors too, right? So you got to be careful of that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I could work with someone that is a bad actor but didn't know it at start, and that is fine. That can happen. Anyone can be scammed, me included, even though I'm vetting people. So there was a long list, but that is some of the, and I'm sure this is just something I sat down and come up with in a short amount of time. I got a feedback from 1, 2, or 3 people. And we can do more than that if you just use your head and stop thinking about just what we see now. People just talk about game and collectibles. That is not everything.
Nope.
You
And
can do so much.
I mean, music, video, you know, we've already seen it happen. And I think one of the things right now is that that's accessible for everyone because it's on at BFS, right? But in the future, I could see that stuff being hidden behind a paywall, and then, you know, you own that NFT, you have access to that paywall, and you can see that content, right?
Yeah, and like you don't even need to have the music on the NFT. You just have the rights to the music on the NFT.
Exactly.
Or the right to a video, or perhaps you make a movie and you have 100 different actors, and then they get different NFTs that give them, you have a transparency who gets what when the income comes in and everything. I mean, there's a ton of things to do if people just start to use their imagination. NFTs is a way to store data with a timestamp, with specific attributes that is proven to be authentic. I mean, it doesn't get better than that.
No, and I've actually used it to give provenance to some of my own work, because it's like I publish an NFT, and then that that photo is now forever recorded on chain, right? So, or maybe not the photo, but the hash and the attributes and everything. So that gives me something to go, hey, this is mine.
Yeah.
I did this then, right? It gives me a provenance. It gives me a date that was created on, and a mintage. So I can tell you, you know, I only made 5 of these, and I only ever will make 5 of these, right?
Yeah. But I think we have been here over an hour. I think we should wrap up. The NFT discussion is something that we can go in and we can sit down a full show and talk about. We're both very passionate about that.
Yeah, we'll have to do another show on that.
For sure. Probably in a few weeks, so after you have been elected or someone else, we will see.
Oh, I would love that. That would be great.
So
yeah, please vote for me.
Exactly. Go to oig.wax.io. If you have stake tokens, log in and just vote for Mike or one of the other candidates that you can relate to, that you think will do a great job. Even if you just have a few tokens, just participating is a good metric to add that we actually have users that care about it.
Agreed, 100%. A lot of people have been voting for me, so it's been awesome. I've had a lot of support, which is fun. So
yeah, very
cool.
nice.
I'm the people's champion.
It's awesome. Thanks for coming on, and thanks everyone for tuning in and spending an hour with me in the morning on a Friday.
Thanks for having me, and yeah, spending an evening with you.
Thursday for you, Friday for me. It's so interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah. So see you all. Thanks for tuning in.